Now we move on to a thought-provoking panel discussion where we will delve into the dynamic world of tech-powered strategies for maximizing return of investment and revenue generation. As the workplace environment undergoes a profound transformation, it is imperative to stay ahead of the curve. We are excited to introduce our distinguished panel of experts who have harnessed the power of technology to redefine workplace operations and drive unprecedented business growth. Over the next 30 minutes, our guests will uncover their first-hand experiences, insights, and best practices for leveraging the cutting-edge tools of OfficeRnD to optimize financial success. So in a second, our guests will be here. Mike, I see that you have already joined. How are you today? Ready to kick this session off?
I'm very pumped, and so are the guests. Thank you so much for hosting us today.
Perfect. Share your screen and the stage is yours.
Hey there, guys. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our panel on tech-powered strategies for maximizing ROI and revenue. In today's fast-paced business world, co-working spaces are more than just desk and Wi-Fi. They foster communities, optimize space, and drive profitability. The role of technology in achieving this cannot be overstated. My name is Michael Everts, and I'm a former space operator and now a product marketer at OfficeRnD. I'm excited to host this panel today with some Flex rock stars, folks who have been in the trenches of co-working for years and have used technology to give spaces a mega boost. They're here to give a breakdown on how they've harnessed tech to ramp up space income and make their spaces the place that everyone wants to be. They'll share insights on boosting revenues, enhancing member experiences, and the power of tools like OfficeRnD, SphereMail, Syncaroo. For those deeply engaged in co-working management, today's conversation will provide a deep dive into how technology can be your greatest ally in ensuring financial success at your space. Before we jump into our chat, let's take a moment for our guests to introduce themselves. Erin, can you briefly introduce yourself and your experience with co-working spaces?
Hi guys, my name is Erin Maxon. I am the head of digital at Cohatch. We operate around 35 locations right now across the United States. I deal with anything related to our digital marketing channels as well as any of our digital infrastructure. So that would be managing OfficeRnD, building any new software and all of that for our locations. So that's me.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin. Hassan, why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself?
Thank you again for having me. I'm Hassan Marjan, CEO of SphereMail. We've been in business since 2011. Basically, SphereMail is a virtual office software solution and a mailroom management solution. We cater to co-working spaces, shared office spaces, business formation companies, enterprise, healthcare, the whole spectrum of different industries. And we offer this service again to provide more additional revenue and streamline their virtual members. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Hassan. And Hector, why don't you finish it out?
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. I'm Hector Colonis. I'm a co-founder at Syncaroo. And our job at Syncaroo is essentially to help operators around the world integrate their tech and really streamline their processes to really make sure that all that stuff that we don't really want to think about on the day-to-day becomes automated so that people can get back to doing the high-touch things like driving business revenue, interacting with members, connecting members, all that stuff we all care about in co-working spaces. And I've been in co-working since 2013. Started my first spaces, created rent-to-desk spaces in old advertising agencies, helped spaces launch across Europe, built Included.co, the world's biggest perks program for co-working spaces. And that's kind of when I started working with OfficeRnD. So it's been a long journey so far. Happy to dive in and look at how tech affected all of this.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Hector and team. Appreciate you guys. We have quite a lot of experience here around managing co-working spaces as well as co-working technologies. And so definitely excited to see what kind of insights you guys have to say about maximizing ROI at your space. And so with that, we'll jump into the questions and go from here. So the first question I'm going to ask is, how has the industry evolved in recent years in regards to selling? And what role has tech played in this evolution so far? Hector, why don't you start us off with this one?
Absolutely. So looking back, I think there's essentially two questions, right? What was the evolution and what is the tech's impact on this evolution? From what I've seen back from 2013 is the biggest change isn't how we sell space, but who's buying the space? Obviously, we've seen the addressable market keep expanding. Larger and larger local businesses are starting to leverage Flex. Multinationals started tapping Flex both through kind of employer engagement apps, or through reimbursements for co-working spaces. Governments, landlords, retailers, mayors, nonprofits, everyone started kind of looking towards Flex as part of their own strategies. We saw remote first companies pull in millions and millions in revenue and financing. And then COVID happened, right? So this was all happening. And then the pandemic came and really kind of lit that fire and kind of spread this adoption. So in short, we kind of saw all these new demand channels exploding, but also how and where that demand was serviced also started to change, so we didn't kind of fall behind as service operators or as space operators. As for the tax impact, it didn't only kind of improve distribution, discovery, reach, and revenues, but also improve the overheads. I'm not sure if many folks were running spaces back in 2013, but everything was pretty damn manual. You had to kind of go and take things to your invoicing system. You had to get an accountant and explain to them that you weren't renting out space, you were kind of membership company, but you had to kick them out if they didn't pay for space. And all that higher revenue, it started coming in, but like the operational costs didn't really come down until very recently, right? So we started seeing that more and more revenue was coming to Flex, but it was becoming still expensive to service that when everything was so manual. But on the flip side, all this tech started coming, and misaligned tech actually started to hurt businesses. We had people double booking space from different apps. We had undirected reservations arriving at a space. Hey, I booked through Hector's cool Flex Space app. Where do I go? I don't know what that is. I've only just started working here. All leading to kind of undelightful experiences. So as much as it's had an impact, we're getting to a point now where it's becoming something we have to actually address to improve what happens next.
Awesome. No, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, early on, people were using spreadsheets and lots of different tools to get it all together, and it really has evolved so much since then. Aaron, I'm very interested to hear, I know you've been with Cohatch for quite a while now, and Cohatch is such an amazing brand. For those of y'all that are not familiar with it, definitely check it out online. Yeah, tell me your thoughts on how the industry has evolved in recent years and what you've seen in terms of selling and how that's changed.
Yeah, I joined Cohatch, I guess that was about 4.5 years ago. So definitely like on the outskirts of COVID, right before what's happening. For us, when I came into Cohatch, we had nothing automated, we had nothing built tech-wise. So that's basically been my role over the last 3 or 4 years, is to kind of get that infrastructure set up, especially as we continue with high-speed growth. For us, it's been more about trying to provide the highest class of hospitality. We put a huge focus on meetings and events, making sure that those are serviced well, and then making sure that our spaces are easily accessible. I think we all know that as tech continues to push forward, people are wanting things to be easier. The member experience has to be flawless, it feels like, in order to get people into the space and nurture those relationships long term. And I think tech has really supported that for us. We're really big on trying to keep the human connection in what we build, because I think the same thing, like when you continue to add too much tech to something, you kind of fall away, at least from our brand, and connecting with the members. But for us, tech has allowed us to make things easier for our community managers that are managing everything day to day, and also making sure that we're getting those touch points with our members where it makes sense. If we didn't have that, we would still be operating in a very slow manual process. And I think that has been the biggest thing for us, is trying to figure out how do we make everything super accessible. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. Hassan, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, thank you. Wow, I can go back to 2010 when the idea came. Well, just to give you a bit background, I was an operator myself, and this is how it all started. I started the first co-working space in San Francisco, then grew to 4, and we struggled. And my background is technology, so I decided to build a system where how can I scale this and scale the business itself. So we built that, but we were looking for tools for our space. What do we use? There were only like a couple, we've known before, and it was still struggle. All spreadsheets, all manual process. And what started happening, and with regards to in recent years, and what has evolved, is so many companies are coming in, and now the struggle with all these spaces, what's happening is they're using multiple tools doing the same thing. So you have, okay, I'm a space, I'm running maybe a lock and key, a door solution, then maybe there are two tools that are there. One does something, the other does something else, and then you have to use both of them. What is going to start happening is you're going to see a lot of consolidation, a lot of integration between systems, and they kind of complement each other. And this is what I really suggest any operator would want to do, is consolidate and remove excess, as we call it, the extra fat that is in there that is not necessary needing to run your operation. So it's going to create more problems when you use different tools. So I think it's a great thing where you're going to see those companies, they work with each other. Us as technology companies, for example, we and OfficeRnD, we have done a lot with regards to integration. Therefore, the experience that you will have is only one solution, one place you could do everything. But then in the background, you really don't care what's going on, but you have one solution. So I think it's a great thing. Everybody's learning from it. Everybody's understanding the education that is happening in the marketplace. So it's all positive.
Awesome. Yeah, no, you guys are all right. We've definitely seen some massive changes from how we used to run the spaces to the kind of all-in-one tools that we have today that are able to power a lot of that stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, this question, I'm going to pick on Erin a little bit here first. She's the operator in the group. But tell us a little bit, as business models have changed, new technologies are emerging, like what are spaces really doing now to sell effectively in today's digital age with today's tools? We'd love to hear a little bit about what you and the CoHatch team are doing.
Yeah, I think I probably have a unique perspective because I started doing digital marketing here at CoHatch. I kind of started on the marketing side, and then I worked myself more into marketing operations, which has led to some digital infrastructure building and proprietary software building. It's not very often that you hear that a co-working space has developers on staff working alongside the awesome people at OfficeRnD. We've definitely been able to kind of merge some great ideas of what we do locally, trying to make an impact with nonprofits and startups, as well as, just trying to make OfficeRnD the best thing that it can possibly be for our members, because they do interact with it every single day. Obviously, people want an option to connect with people in the space. I think that's one of the things that, especially after COVID, it was really hard to get people connecting again, at least in meaningful ways. And so that's why we have put a focus on building, especially as we've grown and have so many more locations than we did 2 or 3 years ago. How do we kind of build that bridge digitally across our locations? We've actually seen, and I'm sure all of you that are operating co-working spaces have seen people from all over that are kind of building these hub and spoke models, especially if you have multiple locations. We have people in Charlotte, we have people in Indiana, we've got people in Columbus, Ohio, that are all bouncing around our locations and trying to figure out the best way to grow their business, not just in their localized city, but also beyond. So that's why we've started building things and kind of integrating things into our CoHatch app through OfficeRnD to try and make it easier for those introductions. We've been building all kinds of like groups and things that we can actually bring people together. And I think that's very different than what you would have expected a long time ago. I think when I was, I got into the co-working world because I needed a place to work. I lived on the road for a little bit and I wanted a place to just work that had nice Wi-Fi, and that was what I was there for. I definitely think times have changed, and in order to nurture those relationships in your spaces, you have to be able to bridge the gap, especially if you have multiple locations, and make sure that they're being fully utilized. So that's what we're doing, is building more digital tools and resources alongside our physical locations.
Awesome. And how many locations does CoHatch have now, Erin?
Oh, this is always my least favorite question because I feel like it changes every day. I think we're at 35 now. We should
Wow.
be 42 open by the end of next year.
Wow. Huge growth.
Yeah.
Thanks, Aaron. Hector, Hassan, anything else you guys want to add to this question?
Sure. So, what business model have changed? So exactly. So what I'd like to add is that these business models, you have so many options to run your business as a co-working space. You're limited with the walls and the real estate that you have. So how can you really get more revenue and scale pretty quickly without increasing your bottom line cost and expense? You got the members themselves and the virtual members themselves. So how you can have an automatic revenue subscription that coming in through that, that'll help you really grow your business without having to think about getting more locations, real estate, and it's a faster process. Than retention. Let's think about retention as well. I think you want to keep those, whether they are full-time members or virtual. They can actually switch. So you have a member who decides he wants to grow the business, then they go from virtual into a permanent member, or vice versa. They decide to move somewhere else, but they want to keep that location and have that relationship with the existing members, or whether utilize the meeting room, but keeping their business as a business address in that location. So that really provides a lot of flexibility. I think people in the co-working space have a lot of opportunities, not only selling the physical membership or flex space, but there are other services, whether it's phones, live receptionist, all these things can add on. I can tell you one example very quickly. When I was running my space, we had an attorney signed up, paid the basic membership. I remember back then it was like $39 a month. I remember we were in the middle of San Francisco.
Wow.
By within 6 months, he was paying us around $170 to $200 a month just for the added services within the base subscription. Think of it as a mobile phone. You have a mobile phone, you pay for the base price, and then you keep using the service. So that's really an increasing revenue. We don't just want to look at it, oh, okay, well, I'm charging $39 or $49 a month, and that's my revenue. No, you can have a lot of add-ons. So yeah, business models have changed a lot, and it evolved big time.
Absolutely. I think Aaron nailed community changes. Hassan brought up huge points, huge revenue possibilities of auxiliary services, everything from mail across to kind of notary services, website design, podcasting studios, podcasting production, all huge new business opportunities available for spaces interested in that. I think the last one that I didn't hear brought up yet is the whole corporate centralized billing. A lot of corporations are going towards multi-brand approaches, working with a whole bunch of operators, but they want one invoice at the end of the month to cover all their employee spend or all their employee utilization. So definitely keep that in mind if you are looking towards the corporate world. That is a huge market that is writing massive checks right now. So find ways to incorporate that into your business models as well.
Y'all, great answers from all of y'all. Yeah, continuing on a little bit. Now that we've talked about how spaces are generating revenue today from various activities, what do you think the future looks like for an operational perspective? Are there any innovative or unique flex space revenue models, emerging trends that you're starting to see? How would you like to be selling in 3 to 5 years from now, differently from how you are today? I'm interested to hear. Hector, you want to take us off again?
Sure. I personally believe, and this is kind of like the stand I get on and preach from normally in town square, is that the biggest paradigm shifts to how flex space is going to be used and how people are going to pay for it and find it are being built right now. The way the next generation of workers will interact with our spaces doesn't exist. You got to remember that a lot of folks that are coming into the workforce now, or the knowledge workforce now, are of a generation who use apps that personally, as a technologist, I've never used. I still can't get my head around many apps. I'm not going to date myself too much, but there's a few apps I just don't understand. Yet they're generating tens of millions of dollars in revenue for the brands that do. Those users are going to port into using office space. they're going to start getting jobs where they need a place to work, or they want to do their creator economy businesses or their influencer businesses from spaces. So that's the shift that I'm seeing kind of behind the scenes. Working with so many technology companies in our space, there is this constant drive to find out where that next innovative demand generator is going to be, but also how do you then service that? If you suddenly have this huge influx of people wanting to do YouTube promos in your space, how do you structure your business to be able to service that without cannibalizing the rest of your traditional business? So that's definitely an undercurrent that I'm seeing. It's a fascinating one. And yeah, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, multi-brand memberships. We're seeing huge discussions with operators now. We know this week there's some massive news about one of the largest networks hitting a little bit of choppy waters. That's going to affect buying decisions. People, the cat is out the bag. People know that they can work near home. They know they can work from locations near home. Whatever happens there, that cat is out the bag. People are going to want that. Employers are going to expect it. And so being able to service that demand is going to be a big part of the next couple of years for our industry.
Aaron, Hassan, anything you guys want to add on to Hector?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can focus on our, on our area and what we really have experienced and what I've seen, for over a decade now, and where we were and where we are now. It's absolutely fascinating. The idea of, you keep generating revenue on monthly basis, weekly basis. Every year, it's adding different services such as the notary service. Now what we have with SphereMail, we offer even a profit. You have a profit to make off the notary. We just released it, a month ago, less than a month ago, where it's all automated service. You can utilize that, and then utilizing the system itself, where AI, let's talk about that and how we can, utilize that by understanding the human behavior in our system, which we're actually working on. So there are a lot of exciting things coming in, and mainly I would, say that again is integration with different systems that they can complement each other. I really recommend for any co-working space to look at that. The first question they come, and even if they go to OfficeRnD and ask them, or us, hey, who do you integrate with? What companies do you integrate with? Think about it in the future, because you don't want to stuck down the road. You have to change everything and go back and again and redo it. It's going to be way more costly later on than doing it early in the process.
Yep. No, great points, Hassan. Aaron, are there any unique space revenue models that you guys are seeing at Cohatch? Anything new that you think is going to catch on in the coming years?
I think there's a lot. I think over the last year, we've seen a huge uptick in people that are dropping in for the day. I think there's going to be a lot of workers that are more of I kind of want to fly by the seat of my pants, want to come by, when I have a meeting or if I have a very specific need. We do have a lot of people that use our spaces. Phone booths are huge for us. They have been such they drive a significant amount of revenue that I never thought they would. People want just one little space where they can take me all day. I think it's interesting to see how people, they're wanting to work together, but also have the private space. We're all on virtual calls all the time. I think that there's something to be said about people that are wanting this flex workspace to work for them in the ways that work best, which is not the same for every single person that comes in the door. We definitely have had to change some of our plans around over the years to kind of fit what is coming in the door every day. So I think that's for us, being able to provide a semi-customized experience for those people that need different things. Being able to be flexible, especially as an operator, is super important as we move through the next couple of years, because it will definitely change. There's no doubt about that. So.
Yep. No, great answers, all you guys. And this question is tangentially related to kind of what we just asked, but yeah, how are you seeing OfficeRnD address this, whether it's through integrations with your platforms or with your co-working space? I mean, how is OfficeRnD helping you guys to actually generate more revenue at your space from a more practical level? Aaron, I guess if it's okay, can we start with you again as you're the operator?
Yeah, I think OfficeRnD has really centralized all of the things that we need. I know we talk a lot about the member experience and making sure that it is a perfect experience from end to end. Is it perfect every time for us? Absolutely not, but it definitely has made that experience better for our members. One of the other pieces of it that I don't think we talk about often enough is how much a centralized system that does so much helps our team on the ground. Our community managers are able to do anything and everything for our members within one system. It also helped our finance team try and figure out, what's trending up, what's trending down. So I think in general, having one, as Hassan said, having one consolidated place to be able to function out of on the day-to-day is so important. I'm in it every day. Our community managers are in it every day. It's really helped us find different ways to add more revenue over time. I think with the add-on conversation as well, virtual mail, things like that, that's really become clear for us using OfficeRnD that it makes sense.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. Hector, Hassan?
Yeah, sorry. So what I'm gonna give you a quick example. So I was in Portugal just, a week ago, 2 weeks ago. We opened up a branch office over in Lisbon, and we went to one of the spaces, which we all know we have a relationship. So we know a lot of people around it. Like, we've been in the industry so long. And, we wanted to open an office. So we told them, well, we just need the address right now and then utilize your meeting room. We gave them the issue that I saw there. And we talked about that. They're using multiple systems. It's like, where is everything? Who's doing what? Where do I subscribe? Where do I sign? Where do I? So we're going to send them over to you, Michael. We saw this firsthand. I tell you this. So I'll give it back to Hector.
Thanks, Hassan. I'll send them my details as well. We love helping operators fix all those just connected systems.
Lovely. We'll do so. We'll do so.
And I think that kind of brings me back to kind of how OfficeRnD is addressing this, right? I've said this to the OfficeRnD team multiple times, and every time I think we get asked 3 times a week which system we should use. My answer is always the same: find the people who understand that your tech stack has to be modular. You have to find a way to use the best pieces of every technology, but bring them together to create that seamless user experience. As Aaron mentioned, it has to be delightful for members to interact with your space, both physically, virtually, in your community, but not one time. Not just the next time, every time, for the next 10 times, for the next 100 times, for the next 10 years. The experience has to be something you can fully control. And I think that's what OfficeRnD gets really, really well. It's why we get to work so often with OfficeRnD. We get brought into many interesting projects, connecting things that logically shouldn't both be used at the same time. But spaces are illogical. We're built on top of stacks. We're built on top of shoulders of people who built the spaces before us. So allowing OfficeRnD to speak to all of these systems, both kind of through native integrations and through partners like ourselves at Syncaroo, really helps position this idea of this truly modular stack that has got what we call, the brain in OfficeRnD. Syncaroo is kind of the central nervous system, and then you can kind of pick what the rest of your space looks like. And I think OfficeRnD is doing a fantastic job in making this new world of work.
Awesome. I love that that brain and central nervous system analogy. That was great. Yes, and on to the final questions before we take a little time for Q&A from the audience. If you had to impart one bit of knowledge, one piece of advice for a co-working operator really trying to maximize revenue. I know we've gone over a lot of these over the past 30 minutes. But yeah, what would you tell an operator that's trying to maximize revenue today, something that they should be doing that they might not be? Aaron, do you want to start for us again?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing you should focus on, especially over the next year, is I know for us, is differentiating ourselves and understanding what we're really good at and what's something that we could be decent at and give it a go, right? If you can differentiate yourself in the co-working space, whether that's with add-ons or some kind of amenity, I think that's one of the bigger pieces that we've learned over the years that really makes sense for our community. We're also really focusing on connecting, like I said, with technology as always, but also in the physical spaces. I think as we are starting to get to on this like very tail end of the pandemic, and people are starting to really get back in the swing of things, and everything's starting to operate, or at least semi-operate normally. Connecting the people in our physical spaces and providing our teams on the local level with resources, that's digital or not, to connect members is a huge piece of what we're going to look at for the next year. It has definitely been a huge ROI for us to focus on how can we give specific needs to these individuals that are using our spaces, because it looks different for everyone, as we've been talking about. So I would just suggest finding something that differentiates you from everybody else. Use tech to automate the things that you're not good at, and go from there.
I love it. I love it. Hector? Hector, I think you're muted.
It was going to happen once, right? In a tactical.
Yeah.
That's honest. That it was me. So I think, you know, the question is all about kind of revenue. Revenue, the difference in revenue and ROI is the other side of revenue. What is the overhead of servicing that revenue? So you should always, as operators, keep an eye out for kind of new distribution tech, discovery tech, auxiliary solutions, integration solutions. But if you're not able to implement them and plan how you're going to integrate all of this without keeping your overheads low, it doesn't matter how much revenue you bring in, because the overhead is just going to wipe that out straight away. So definitely keep that in mind, whether it's AI or integrations or anything, machine learning, whatever it is, make sure that you're implementing in a way that you're keeping those overheads low. You're being able to bring in revenue, costing you less dollars than you're spending on servicing it.
I love it. That's a great holistic way to look at it, Hector. And Hassan?
Yeah, I would like to add, so echoing, you know, Aaron and Hector, I tell you, automation and the key thing is repeating revenue. Repeating revenue is something that you want. You want a repeating customer, whether it's from a subscription, which is actually the perfect model, because you know that this doesn't require a lot of work. And there are services that these systems offer, like with SphereMail. I'll tell you, you know, us being first to market, we've done a lot throughout the 12, 13 years, whether, you know, and then also I do want to add that we have already in place 18 patents that have been submitted, and we have 1 utility patent has already been approved. And then the provisionals are 17 sitting there. It includes AI, integrations, a lot of things. So what I really emphasize on, and really I come in hands-on experience, and then Aaron knows this as well, from operating a space, is that you need that repeating revenue with the minimum amount of work. And then what Hector just mentioned, the overhead, you want to grow your business and you want to grow it without increasing your bottom line cost at a cent. If you add a cent to it, that's a cost. If you want to drop that, and how do I increase my revenue without adding an additional cost? So with us, our system, what it does, not only mail, you can, the notary service itself, you can have a profit without doing any work, offering virtual phones similar to Google Voice, and companies like Grasshopper, they offer phones, but with SphereMail, we give it to the operator at a price that is so low that they can add any profit on it without doing any work. So there are a lot of things you can pick and choose from these services, and we'd be very happy to help you with that. And really, if not, we just can educate you around it, how you could really maximize revenue. Again, as we, you know, not only myself, but our team as well have these experience with operating a space itself. So we'll be happy to help you.
Awesome. Thank you guys all for some of those great answers. We're going to take a little time today to answer some questions from the audience. So I have a couple of them coming in through chat. Give me one moment and I will pull them up and ask them. So this first question is to Aaron and Hassan. If there's one new on-demand service that you plan to offer, what would it be?
Hector, you want to go ahead?
For us,
Or Aaron, I'm sorry. Yeah. Apologies.
No, right. Virtual mail for us has been a big one. And we also have been working on a proprietary software for a while that we've been kind of testing both with the general public and our members, trying to generate more connections in the community. So I believe digital memberships for us, accessing our digital resources that we have, especially since we have scaled so fast, has been one of the biggest trends for us over the last 2 years. So providing both the physical location address has been really important for people, as well as getting access to some of our programming, connections, meeting with members and things like that. So that's definitely something we're looking forward to kind of testing out this year as a combined digital membership for us. So.
Would you repeat the question, Michael?
Yeah, the question was, if there is one new on-demand service you plan to offer as an operator, what would it be?
I think in addition to the mail, if they're not offering that virtual membership, which is really key, we had one member was in Germany. He came in first to our space, wanted to become a physical member and decided to go back to Germany. He said, but I want to keep that address in the US. How can I do that? We automatically flipped him over to become virtual. And then he came back and then we brought him back again. Now, an additional services in addition to the virtual or actual offering mail and an address is services that we registered agent is key. Like if you know how to do that, and we can help you with that, is if you become a registered agent, that's also a big money maker in addition to the notary service, which we are the only vendor right now around the world. Anywhere you go, nobody's offering a profit margin in this industry. It's just us. We're giving you a profit on that service without doing any work. So notary and phones as well, you can add that to it.
Awesome. Guys, we only have time for one more question. So I'm going to ask this one also, Hassan, related to something that you just brought up. But this one comes from Colleen with Coco. Hey, Colleen. She asked, where's the breaking point on additional services as it relates to revenue generation versus overhead? Mail service, especially now under the new CMRA rules, requires a lot of overhead and some pains for teams. So yeah, Hassan, where's the breaking point on this for some of these operators?
A breaking point in regards to meaning that, where you flip to profit?
As it relates to revenue generation versus overhead.
Yeah, so the CMRA itself, so Colleen, hi. It's always been a pleasure working with you guys. It's been so many years been working with them. So with the change in rules, we're working closely with that. We're trying to find ways to actually integrate with the USPS. I know there was a session going on. They're still not there yet, but we're doing our best on our side without really taking that process from the operator, where we're doing this automatically. And this is unfortunately a requirement that legally you have to do that. So it's really difficult to specifically answer this question. Where is the breaking point? I think the CMRA rules, where you can do that is really try to market to international users. That's where the margin can come in, when they come in and then they try to notarize this service, where you can actually, there is no cap on the notary. When they do the CMRA, you could charge up to $89 per notary, and then we're giving it to you at a really marginal price where you can really generate a whole profit. So if you register 5 users internationally, that's really going to be, something that will affect your revenue upwards versus with the domestic signups. I hope I answered the questions. It's a tough one, but I did my best.
Yep. No, that was great, Hassan. And yeah, unfortunately, we've gone a little bit over time. So we'll do our best to answer the questions that we couldn't get to in the chat. But yeah, as we come to the end of our session, I want to express my sincere thanks for our fantastic panelists, for their thoughtful insights, and everyone in the audience for engaging with us. Let's take the valuable ROI strategies shared today back to our workplaces. Keep exploring, keep innovating, and let's continue to enrich the co-working experience. Until next time, thank you for your participation in Flex World, and let's keep the conversation going. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.
Thank you, Mike, and thanks everyone on this panel for sharing their insights, firsthand experience. One thing is for sure, we need, from a business perspective, to be constantly innovating and driving different technologies within our spaces and engage with our members so that we can generate more revenue moving forward. So thank you about that.